Why did you decide, of all things, to get into water?
The average person in the UAE will drink 450 bottles a year.
Plastic bottles?
How many of those bottles will actually be recycled? Less than 10%.
On the show today, we have Sandy Muirhead, who is the director of No More Bottles. What does No More Bottles do?
We're here to reduce the amount of plastic that's consumed in the Middle East.
What are the dangers?
I could be here all day with you, James, but
Welcome back to the Chef JKP Podcast. And on the show today, we have Sandy Muirhead, who is the director of No More Bottles. Sandy, welcome to the show.
thanks, James. Good morning.
Right, Chief. First things first, we're going to get into a lot of detail about water and No More Bottles. But as always on the show, I want to know your first or favourite childhood food memory, please.
Oh, that's a good question. I come from, my mother's side of the family are all farmers, and my father is a butcher, and that's where they met. My dad was buying produce from my grandpa.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, meat, anyone that's a vegan, a vegetarian probably won't want to listen to me, but meat has been prominent throughout my life. Growing up, we would have the leftovers from the butcher shop, whether that was sausages. My uncle was a manufacturer of black pudding.
Oh, wow.
Steak, flavoured sausages, steak pie. Even now, when I'm lucky I met my wife and she sort of broadened my culinary experiences, but you go back to my mum's house and it's steak, gravy, steak, gravy.
So where in the world are you from?
I'm from just outside of Glasgow, a place called East Kilbride, just south of the city.
Right.
That's where I've born, raised, and then, I moved out here 12, 13 years ago.
So what were the types of food you would have with the family? Was it predominantly all sort of meats when you were growing up, or different types of veg? How was it?
It was very meat heavy. Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever hadn't been sold in the shop that day was literally what we would have for our dinner. So sausages, black pudding, steak. Very.
And then would you be involved in the shop at all, or were helping your dad?
I'm sure a lot of people in Glasgow have ate a Scotch pie that I'd helped put in the contents for. My father had a mobile butcher shop that I used to go around the streets with, similar to an ice cream van. Right. So I'm an accountant by trade, and I think I picked up a lot of that from, I would be doing the receipts for my dad, making the invoices. How much was that? You'd bought 6 black puddings, 5 sausages, 2 grams of steak, whatever it would be. So that was my exposure.
So that must have been quite interesting for you, also seeing your dad talking to customers, regular guests, having sort of, because the culture, a lot of people may not know, but those shops, specifically butchers, fish shops, bakeries, were almost the backbone of the UK at one time.
Massive part of the community. That was, my dad was very, very personal person, hard grafter. Butchers, you're working 7 days a week. We never saw him in the morning. He was at the market, he was getting the produce for the shop, he was cutting, he was setting up his display out the shop front. So learnt a lot. Very personable person. You're more of a counsellor when you work in these types of shops. People will tell you all their problems, James.
Really?
Oh yeah, the stories. My dad had a good filter on him, but the stories that he would hear about what the neighbours were doing, the problems with the kids. People would go in, they'd be spending £1 and waste 20 minutes of my dad's life just because they wanted to offload.
Right.
But that's a community.
But that's part of the job.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you're there to, and if you could upsell them to a bit of sirloin rather than taking a rump steak, happy days.
So the other thing I'm interested in, Sandy, is because I think it's quite interesting for people who don't know, especially a butcher's life, because we haven't really sort of discussed it too much on the show. In almost 100 episodes, we haven't discussed it. So what would be a sort of typical day for your dad or for yourself when you go with him?
I'm the youngest of 3 children, so my sisters I never actually went to the market with them. That was the one bit I would have liked to have gone, but I would be start off in the van, so we'd be preparing. My mum would help. My mum was in the business as well, so we'd be setting up the van, putting the stock in, getting this display ready. And then I used to think we were like Postman Pat. You're going round, ring it, peep, 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 and then the people would know, oh, we're going to be in this street between, say, 12:30 and 1.
Right.
And then quite cunningly, my dad used to park his van where his old shop was. He literally, from outside, would park where his old shop would be, so he didn't need to pay the rates.
Wow.
It was an interesting upbringing.
Because the other thing is that I'm assuming, Sandy, that would have been a time before the internet and WhatsApp and all of that sort of thing.
Yeah, you're talking early 90s. Yeah.
So that would have been customer loyalty.
Oh yeah.
Number one, and you would have had to have known what your guests or your customers wanted at that time, and perhaps, as you said, have a special or two. So instead of rump steak, fillet steak, for example.
Yeah.
That must have been amazing to see all of that.
It was, yeah. I mean, Christmas time especially. Like, my dad's a massive car enthusiast, and you always knew Christmas was coming because he would get rid of one of his cars so that one of his spare garage could get filled with frozen turkeys.
Oh wow!
So that was graft. It's pretty miserable weather in Scotland that time of year, but we used to be. Yeah, frozen turkeys would be in there for a good couple of weeks in December.
Would you happen to know the sort of number of kilos by any chance for the turkeys at Christmas, or how many turkeys?
There'd be there'd be a couple of hundred of turkeys in there. Yeah, it was a good. Yeah, it was a busy time. I think between sort of 6 to 8 kilos, I'm guessing.
Yes,
that sounds about right.
Still big.
They're decent sizes. Yeah, it'd be. Yeah,
but also when they're frozen, it's not a joke. I mean, they're serious.
Solid.
Yes, yeah. So during your sort of adolescent years, what were the foods that you tended to lean towards?
I can't. My diet has changed massively. I'm much more conscious about what I'm putting in. If I'd continued in the trajectory, I'd have had gout by the time I was 20. So, it was. Yes, steak.
Right.
I bleed steak. Like that's still my favourite, to be honest. My mum, I hope she doesn't see that, but she's terrible at cooking. Everything is well done, and it decimates the steak.
Right.
So when I was at uni, I was working in restaurant or in bar, sort of pub tavern type places. My delicacy changed massively when I was speaking to chefs and I was seeing what they were doing, and they would let me sample different things. But everything comes down to what you used to as a kid, what's put in front of you. And it was square sausage, black pudding. My uncle brewed the black puddings. He was a massive distributor of black puddings. Wow. My dad thought he was quite artistic by doing flavoured sausage, so Chinese seasoning, tandoori. I think he won an award for having like 50 different flavoured sausages.
I was going to ask, because that's also quite interesting.
That was cool, yeah. You'd get the big tubs and then you'd dip the square sausage back in front, and then that was, it was very popular there was a good period of people really liking it.
Wow. So what I'm interested in also is how did you go then from, quite a hardcore foodie family, working extremely hard, to then, how did you get into the numbers game? Because did you go straight into your education to become an accountant?
I knew my dad. I saw the graft my dad was doing, and he was very much like he was an intelligent man. My dad, he is a very clever man. He can turn his hand to anything. And it was his father that had, all three of his brothers are butchers. So it was just the natural progression.
Right.
And my mum and dad, neither of them went to university, and they were very much, our kids will be educated. So I'm the youngest. I've got two elder sisters, and they went to university, and it was expected that I had to go to uni. My two sisters had done it. I had to go. My uncles were a couple of successful uncles, and they were accountants. And it was like, my dad was the guy that was grafting. He wasn't at the family events because he was working 7 days a week. My uncles had a nice house, a nice life. They were accountants. You go that route, son. And you're at that age, James, you're not really thinking. It was just, I was good at maths. English wasn't great. Scottish accent probably doesn't help that. But I'm more numerical than I'm sort of language based.
And it's interesting that you say that you're more numerical because also you were dealing with the invoices and that sort of thing from an early age.
Yeah.
So, which university did you end up going to?
So I went to Strathclyde University at a good business school. So I did accounting and finance there. I spent 2 summers working in America, working in like theme parks and boardwalks, and that's where I got my hustle. I'd be on a boardwalk on a microphone doing like the Donkey Derby.
Right.
So yeah, I like that. You can have a great product, but unless you can personally sell it, then you've got nothing. It really is human interaction. A lot of people will say to me, "Oh, you're not a typical accountant," and that was my first appraisal at KPMG. "Oh, you're not a typical accountant," and that's a compliment to me because I don't want to be a typical accountant.
All right, then. Well, look, I want to dig deep first into what is a donkey derby for people who don't know what it is.
So you'll see that at motion gate and places like that here in Dubai. It's you'll have the 8 horses and you've got to roll the balls.
Right.
And the more selective areas you get, the higher points and the quicker your animal in the race will win.
Well, and which parts of the US were you working in?
1 year I worked in Myrtle Beach in South Carolina, and I also worked in Ocean City in Maryland.
And what were the biggest lessons you took away from working in the US at that time?
It just took me out my comfort zone. I very rarely went on holiday in the UK. Scotland was all I knew, very sort of narrow-minded Glasgow, and then I was exposed to so many different people's
That must have
cultures.
just opened your mind extensively.
Oh yeah, massive. That was a massive turning point for me going to America in the summers. It was, you'd go on your boys' holidays to your Magalus and your Ibizas. Right. That was a 2-week stint. But this was me away for like 2 months, travelling, earning money, seeing the world, meeting different people, meeting like-minded people. And it gave me that taste of like Glasgow isn't the be-all and end-all. There's other things out there.
What were the types of foods that you had in the US that you loved at that time?
Steak, yeah, no, it was.
But was it so then when it came to the steak for you in the US, how different was it from the UK?
Size. The portions in the States are ridiculous.
So you must have had a field day.
I loved it. Yeah, all you can eat, like the Chinese buffets and stuff. I was earning like $6 an hour, so you were on a budget. So I would a Chinese buffet at lunch. I was stocking up.
Over it.
Yeah, the ice creams were coming back to the store with me. Like it was, yeah.
So look, then you mentioned KPMG. Yep. What was your role that you had there? Because they're a huge firm, obviously.
Oh, fantastic business. Yeah, I loved my time at KPMG. I went in as a graduate in the graduate course. Initially, I did audit, so I was there for a qualified. You do 3 years of sort of time served. Doing auditing, which was fantastic, going around lots of different businesses, seeing what processes, what controls, auditing their numbers, making sure everything was as they said it was. Great exposure. I worked from places like abattoirs to Scottish Leather Group, lots of to Rangers Football Club, to the SPL. Lots of great exposure from lots of different industries. Wow. Showed me a lot of what's good in business and what's bad. Like you from really like PLCs all the way down to charities to Visit Scotland. Massive exposure, and it was great. You'd go in for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, see a business, and then you're on to the next one. Different industries. I seemed to get landed. I don't know if I'd upset one of the managers, but I used to do a lot of the stock counts in my first couple of years. I think I did over 60 stock counts in my first year, and auditing, like say Peugeot franchises, going round and seeing, right, does it meet all the criteria? So it was great. It was, you learn so much. It was never what I wanted to do forever, but from exposure, coming from an entrepreneurial family, but then going in and seeing all these different businesses, how they operate. You'd have a meeting in the Monday speaking to the lady who signs off the checks, to the guy who's driving the sort of commercials, senior C-suite. And it taught me a lot of how you treat everyone the same. Like everyone's got a part to play. You've got to show respect to people, because you can get more information out of someone who's seen as a junior in a business to the guy up the top. You can pick up so many different things.
I was going to say that's really a fantastic point. That also from, you are the accountant, but your job essentially is to get as much information as possible to learn about the specific type of business that you are dealing in. Yeah. But it must have given you also such an amazing way to deal with people generally, and how to read them.
Yeah.
Because some people would say, Sandy, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, accountants necessarily, they don't have the best rap when it comes to dealing with people
bomb
generally.
Scares normally. Yeah. bomb scare. Yeah.
You know, so it must have been quite refreshing also for you to to have the background you had with your dad, talking to people and that sort of thing, to then taking that skill, going around and learning as much as you could about those specific businesses.
Yeah, definitely. You learn so much that when you get to an executive level in a business, you don't really actually know that much what's going on. Even I've worked in law firms and accounting. The partner is there as the sort of the show pony.
Right.
There's the finders, the minders, and the grinders. You learn so much more from the grinders. They're the people that are raising POs. They know the issues that they've got with a supplier. They know what customers causing you problems. Those are the guys that know. They're the heartbeat of any business. But even like a guy who's in a warehouse manager or a cleaner, they know a lot about a business, and it's just not enough people give them enough time to actually understand. They can see how to improve things, what the issues are, what happens every Monday afternoon at 4:00. These guys, that's a heartbeat of any company, and they're more important than anything. You need to treat your people with respect.
It's almost the same thing in a kitchen or a restaurant, I would say.
Yeah.
It's those guys and girls who are working in the trenches who really know what's going on.
Yeah.
So then, when did you decide to sort of make the move over to the Middle East?
So that happened in 2011. My wife, my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, she got offered a job in Abu Dhabi as a teacher. I was doing transaction services at KPMG at the time. So I was in I had a really great job. We always wanted to move, but I wasn't going to uproot until I knew that Kirsty was settled. So she came out in the September to Abu Dhabi. I came out in the October holiday, or was it October? Around the October holidays, October week she was off. And then I got a job with PwC, offered a job with PwC, waited until my bonus had been paid from KPMG, and then I handed my notice in the January, and I was here in the March.
Right. And what were your first thoughts when you came to the country here?
Oh, complete. Abu Dhabi, downtown Abu Dhabi from Glasgow is chalk and cheese. Completely different, James. I was fortunate my sister had worked in Doha, so I'd visited her in Doha a few years earlier, so it wasn't my first time in the Middle East. But yeah, I love change. I love the culture. This country's fantastic. You meet so many different people, so many different cultures, so many different ways of thinking and doing things, but it's the safety for me. I love how you need to be streetwise in Glasgow. I'm not saying you don't need to be streetwise here, but you don't get the same sort of problems.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think it's, excuse me, I think it's anywhere, unfortunately, in the largest cities around the world at the moment, but in this country, there's a lot of respect given to absolutely everybody. Yeah,
100%. And that's the great thing about this. Yeah, it's difficult to see me being anywhere else but here, to be honest.
So then, how did you navigate sort of 2012 to 2019? So you were working in various different firms.
Yep. Yeah.
How was the landscape in accounting comparing to Scotland here?
Very different. Yeah, very different. It was. I didn't stay in practice, so I moved over with PwC. I didn't stay in the Big Four for very long. Very different. I was, as I said to you earlier on, I'm more of a numerical person, and I was becoming more of an English teacher, because the demographics and the Big Four wasn't. It's improved massively. It's in this region, but the role I was in, the team I was in, it just didn't really fit with my personality and what I wanted to achieve. So I moved into law firms, and my main focus there was setting them up in association offices out in the kingdom, out in Saudi Arabia. So I had a few roles with different law firms, and in between that, I became a finance director for a digital marketing business, which was fun. Effectively, the right term is effectively click arbitrage. So trading, buying from Google, selling to Yahoo, selling to Facebook, etc.
That's incredibly different to what you're doing now, though.
Oh yeah,
I mean, how was that? Because I'm just trying to think again how different the landscape was for you from Scotland to here.
Yeah.
Doing the things you did in KPMG to then coming here, going into law firms.
Yeah.
That must have been you must have been able. Did you study the different types of laws within the Middle East at that time? Did you have to learn?
No,
that?
I was the support. I was support staff. So I was effectively the gatekeeper. So for the lawyers, making sure they were getting paid on time,
Right.
they were recording the right amount of hours, negotiating sort of fixed fees. I loved it. It went from me being a fee earner to being sort of, I was the support staff.
Wow, but it's quite an incredible responsibility, I would say, to also making sure that everybody got paid on time, the negotiations, that sort of thing.
It was great. I had fantastic teams to be honest. It's great working with lawyers. They've all got their wee quirks, but they're very intelligent and they entrust you to look after it as long as you know what you're doing.
Right.
They give you a lot of respect and they let you sort of do your own thing.
So, the main reason we're here, Sandy, is to discuss no more bottles.
Yeah.
Now, because we're going to, really dig into the details of everything that you do.
Yeah.
But I want to understand, going from finance, then you have your, I would say, a foodie hospitality background.
Yep.
Why did you decide, of all things, to get into water first of all?
Everyone drinks it. Yep, it's
Good point.
It's there was no straight path. I mean, in my final year at university, one of my courses was accounting for sustainability.
Right.
And back then, it was only like your Shells and your BP, and it was a tick box. It was like, we're doing it, sustainable or not sustainable. There was no real cohesion. There was no direction. The big companies could afford to do it. But it was always one subject that it sort of stuck out to me. It was like, the world is changing. People are becoming much more aware of the impact they're having. You can be a great business and employ lots of people in that community, but what impact are you leaving behind? So it's always been something that's stuck with me. It's always been sort of an area of interest, sustainability especially. And when we live in the Middle East, everyone drinks water. Well, everyone drinks water. If they're fortunate, everyone around the world drinks water. It's more prevalent here. I could go outside in Glasgow and I could probably get filled with rainwater. But over here, you're in 40, 50 degrees of heat. Hydration is so important when you've got an active lifestyle and you're in this. So water, it's to get back to sort of going off track there. But one of my friends, a guy called Ian Hanna that I'd known through playing golf. I bumped into him one night at the golf course. He had previously worked for Oasis Water, and he bumped it up. What are you doing now, Ian? Oh, I've set up my own business, No More Bottles. And Ian's been in water since probably 30 years.
Right.
So him and his business partner, Carol, had set up No More Bottles. I was working in the digital marketing business. And I'd said, come on, let me see, I'll build you a website and see how you get on. And the more we were going through the landing pages and all the benefits of the No More Bottles products, I was like, Ian, this is fantastic. I love this business. I love the ethos of it. A few months earlier, one of the girls at my old business had proposed to us that we should be getting rid of all the plastic bottles. And I was a massive advocate for it. But in the building we were in, we didn't have any running water, so we were sort of hamstrung a little.
Right.
But the more I was going through the project with Ian and Carol and seeing it, my background was in M&A. I'd done a lot of M&A transactions. Can I raise you money? But then the more and more I delved in, I was like, this is fantastic. I want to be part of this, and I'll put in my own money and bring in investment as well.
Because so it wasn't basically that it was a straight line go into the business. It was almost, because I'm just trying to piece together the finance part to then going into water.
Yeah.
So it just so happened that you met
randomly bumped into Ian at the golf course. Yeah, that was it. Yeah,
right. And of course, then the more the more educated you got regarding the business, the more you were solid into it.
Yeah, I had a young family, and you change massively. Like, it was when I arrived in Abu Dhabi, there was a Scottish guy next door to me, saw me carrying up a plastic bottle, and he said, "Do you know you can get that delivered?" And at that point, James, you're worried about getting your visa, you're worried about getting your driving license. How you get your water is the bottom priority. It's not even on your agenda. It's not on your to-do list. And I just took what he said for granted, and I would get bottles delivered. And then when No More Bottles get introduced, like, why am I doing this? It's literally the tap water that I'm putting in a plastic bottle. My carbon footprint is horrendous. I hated the taste of the plastic bottle when I compare it to what I would drink in Scotland from the tap.
Right.
So that it's only no one wakes up in the morning thinking, where does my water come from? It's only once you're educated on it, then that's when it. So yeah, Ian was looking for investment. It was only maybe a year old, not even a year old. We're building their website, and yeah, I'd an entrepreneurial flame in my body. This was a sort of soft landing. The business had already established, and yeah, I could really see where they were going.
So then you made the big step.
Yep.
Because it was a big step to go out of your comfort zone, from there to go into an industry that you didn't really have too much knowledge of at the time. So how was the first few weeks of that transition for you?
It was interesting. It was interesting. Like, I liked. Initially, I was coming at it from a finance perspective. What was my issue with water bottles? Okay, the deliveries, a lot of time wasted on having to raise purchase orders, having to pay the administration side of it. You've people coming over from the US. Do they like sparkling water? Have we got ordered sparkling water?
Right.
Where are we storing it? So it's how do I solve that problem from a finance perspective? Okay, with the no more bottles solution, I went into my old employees. Right, I know you guys are spending a fortune in plastic bottles that are taking up a lot of space in your pantry. Let's eradicate that. Let me make your life easy and convenient and save you guys money. No more bottles.
Amazing.
And I'll tick your ESG, your HR, sustainability, tick. If someone doesn't want to save money, look after their employees and help the planet, I don't want to deal with you.
Okay. But it's a very strong pitch, Sandy, because some people would have been taken aback by that. There are already sort of very large water companies in the country. So did you manage to raise the capital and the money to push the business further?
Yep.
So then, if we get really into it, and if I ask you a very basic but fundamental question, what does No More Bottles? What do you do for people who don't know?
No more, but as it says in the tin, we're here to reduce the amount of plastic that's consumed in the Middle East. That's where we offer a service and a product, but a lot of my time personally is spent educating people in this region of the dangers of drinking from plastic, and also the benefits of taking the benefits of our solution, which is water filtration and purification.
All right, then. So let's get into the first one, which might be obvious to some people or might not be. What are those dangers?
The dangers of plastic? Well, I could be here all day with you, James, but
we're here.
Yeah,
so let's talk about it.
You've been a resident here for a long time. The amount of you could drive around anywhere in the UAE and you'll notice plastic bottles sitting at the side of a pavement, either being delivered or being collected. Okay?
Yeah.
We're living in 40, 50 degrees of heat. Plastic was introduced in the early 1900s for transportation. No one at that point ever thought that humans were going to consume from plastic containers. We've gone to a very lazy, convenient of choosing plastic when we shouldn't.
Right.
Especially when it's exposed to the direct sunlight and heat, that decomposes the plastic, and effectively chemicals like BPA are lurching into your water that you then drink. You leave a plastic bottle in your car, you go to a meeting, you come back, the bottle's been sitting there for an hour in the heat. You taste that water, how does it taste to you?
Horrendous.
Exactly.
Hot. All of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that those plastics, or that plastic bottle, all of those chemicals will leach into the water to then go into my system directly. Yeah. So that's an adult. So if you're doing that to your children, even worse.
It's frightening. I'm fortunate. I've got two children, 6 and 8, and they're the biggest advocates for no more bottles. You'll never even like sodas, etc. You will never see my kids with a plastic bottle.
So the fact is that, I mean, that's incredibly scary because a lot of people do that on a daily basis.
Of course, yeah.
You know, even if they are fortunate enough to have the water, the fact that those plastics are leaching into that water and it's essentially harming your system over a long, sustained period of time,
That's
right?
Yeah. So the average person in the UAE will drink 450, 500 ml bottles a year.
450 to 500 plastic bottles?
Yeah, they'll drink that, okay?
Whoa.
You take the average house of 2 adults, 2 children, that's 1,800 bottles in a year. 1 year, 1 house in the UAE. How many of those bottles will actually be recycled?
Tell me.
Less than 10%. So one household.
One household.
One household in 1 year, James, you're talking about more than 1,600 bottles either ending up in landfill or what generally happens, it'll end up in the sea. One house, 2 adults, 2 children, 1,600 bottles not being recycled, ending up in the landfill. We are creating it's going to be a plastic pandemic unless people change.
Right.
That's you think of one house, your cousins, your family, even in a street. Think of the amount of waste in just 1 year. 1 year, and that one house is responsible for putting, and that's only in plastic bottles.
Scary, yeah?
That's crazy. It's crazy when there's so many alternatives.
So then, how do we educate people about that specific subject? Because you quite rightly just said, your job now is not so much about the numbers; it's more about the education piece.
It's the numbers that can save people,
right? But that's the thing,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's quite interesting because that's very scary.
Yeah.
That's really, even as you said, just for one house. So what can we do on a wider level to eradicate the plastic as much as possible?
a lot of it comes back to your childhood. That there's such a mix of different cultures and nationalities in it, and from a young age they're given a plastic bottle and they're told you must drink from this because it's the only safe thing to drink. It's the only safe way to drink. That's not I'm guilty as charged. When I first moved to Dubai, I took it as gospel that you've got to drink from a plastic bottle.
Right.
It's that education. It's that forget about convenience. There is a plan B. There is options. The Diba water here is fantastic quality. It's better than a lot of European water.
Is that true?
Of course it is, yeah. But the issue we have is obviously we live in the desert and sand gets absolutely everywhere.
Yeah.
So the infrastructure to your villa, your house, your office might not be the best because sand will more than likely enter that ecosystem at some point. So the job of a water filter is effectively to remove any sand, sediment, bacteria that might have come into that distribution network. So you have the water. If you were to stand outside the Diba plant, the water is fantastic. It's perfect. It's been remineralized. It's got great. It's got all the good minerals that you would need. It's just that distribution network is exposed to so much sand.
So then, okay, let's dig a little bit first before we get into hospitality. Let's dig a little bit about sort of at home. So I don't want to have plastic bottles or anything that touches plastic at home for myself, for my family.
Yeah.
How does no more bottles come into play with that? What do you guys do in that respect?
The majority of our customers at the home will have an under sink filter. So it's a 3-stage filter, a carbon blocker.
Okay. So what is an under sink filter, first of all?
It's very simplistic. It's probably about this. It's installed under your tap.
Right.
You turn on your faucet, you've got your cold water is filtered. So
Straight away.
So that's taking out any sand, sediment, bacteria. The standard one we would put in our homes is it filters to 0.5 of a micron, James. So one of a human hair is roughly 70 microns. 70 microns.
Right.
Okay, so this is filtering it to 0.5. So nothing will come through that the human eye would detect.
Right.
But literally, it's taken any sand, sediment, any nastiness is taken out by that filter.
Okay, so that's number one.
Yeah.
Secondly, people are going to ask, okay, that sounds incredible. Mm-hmm. Is it expensive?
No.
How much is it? What are we talking about?
It's less than 1,000 dirhams for the year, and that includes
for the year.
For the year, yeah. That includes your installation, and every 6 months we would change that filter for you. So it works out roughly about 3 dirhams a day. and then you've not got the storage, you've not got the heavy lifting, you've not got someone waiting for you to come home from the work or the office and saying, can you put that bottle on top of the dispenser for us? You're not exposing your family to plastic or BPA or chemicals or microplastics. Your DEWA bill, well, you'll hardly notice the difference. It's you're talking fills per litre. You won't see a big increase in your DEWA.
So then the last question is, how do we know about the safety of this particular filter?
It's all certified. Like these are certified with the World Health Organization. I wouldn't let my kids drink anything that wasn't safe. These are all certified. You can request for an independent laboratory to do a water test, a chemical analysis, or a microbial analysis on the water afterwards. But the water, as I said, the water in Dubai is of a really good quality, James. It will pass all local, but more importantly, it will pass all international.
Wow.
So I've been drinking it for the last 7 years. I'm in relatively good fettle. It's more and more common. The Dubai Can campaign was launched a couple of years ago. You'll see all the fountains across the Dubai. Filtered water is fine. It's perfectly safe for you, and the benefits and the impact you're having in the environment over a long period of time. That 1,600 bottles per house. Take that over 10 years, that's 1,600 bottles. That's 16,000 bottles.
Yeah, that's huge.
Phone an accountant.
But it's all right. So because I mean that is really big. The fact that it doesn't cost a lot of money. No. It's safe. It's, you guys are obviously going to do the installation, that sort of thing.
Yep.
But because people, I think, would really talk about the systems that you have in place to ensure that. I mean, what do you call it? So it's a specific type of filter?
Yeah, 3-stage filtration, carbon blocker. You'll see a lot of people will discuss around reverse osmosis.
Right.
And that's when you've got a really high TDS, total dissolvable solids. But the Dubai water's it's a good standard. You don't need that. You might need it in some northern Emirates. But 3-stage filtration is perfect. Our dispensers that we supply from Water Logic, they also have the technology of UVC purification, which is effectively it's purification UV light. So every ounce of water is treated with UV technology, and that's the most certified with the World Health Organization. So it's been tested to kill 99.9999% of any bacteria. It's never failed a water test.
Yeah, because I was just thinking, so the great thing is now, so we've hit one part, which is about the family.
Yep.
But then if I have a hotel, with 1,000 rooms, and I've got 3,000 staff, and I've got residents and all of this kind of stuff. How do you guys come into that? Because you've got things like the staff canteen. You've obviously got water, which might be bottled at source per se. But I want, as part of the hotel or the restaurant, to be labeled with my brand and all that kind of stuff. So do you guys do that as well?
Yep. Everyone's a customer for us. So from your home to your office to your hotel, anywhere, people wake up, everyone will drink water today if they're fortunate. So everyone's a customer. We've got solutions for everywhere, James. Hotels, when we're talking about numbers, hotels are frightening numbers. The amount of bottles that will be distributed to the hotel room for the guests. As you said, if you've got 500-600 staff, they're all drinking a couple of litres of water a day.
Minimum.
At least.
Minimum. Yeah. Especially if they're outside.
Oh, you're working at a pool or you're working out in the
garden or whatever.
Oh, yeah. So the numbers at hotels will rack up massively. We work with all the big brands, your likes of Accor, Radissons, Hiltons. They've all got our solutions. A lot of hotels are migrating to having in-house bottling solutions.
Right.
So I'm very invested in this. I hate going to. I won't go to a hotel that have got plastic bottles in the room. 2 adults, 2 children. If I stay there for a weekend, the amount of plastic waste, the amount of bottles, it's a massive turn off.
Because the sustainability piece is huge, right? I mean, it is frightening, I have to say. But why are so from a commercial perspective then? In your view, and No More Bottles has been around for 5 years. So 2019.
2017 we've been 7 years, 7 or 8 years now.
Apologies.
Yeah.
Since that time, how much education have you brought into the hospitality industry and the wider regions?
Yeah, it's changed massively. I think we've probably got about 70 or 80 hotels now that have got our solutions in one way or another. And that's where you really save the big numbers. That's when a couple of thousand bottles every month, easily. When you've got 400-500 rooms, 70% occupancy, 2 bottles a day, the maths quickly add up.
Yeah.
So yeah, the more and more hotels are, a lot of you go onto booking.com, they'll do a lot of sort of the sustainability matrix for hotels. Is this a sustainable stay or not? Most of the big hotels now are implementing it.
Right.
So that there's been a massive change in perception. People now, it's a lot more common. 7-8 years ago, it was, what do you mean we've not got plastic water? Why do we not have plastic bottles in the room? I'm not trusting this. People are now used to it. They're now education. People are now understand the benefits of filtered water. They understand that you like Pepsi, I like Coke. There might be a bit of taste difference, but you are drinking a very safe solution that is so much better for your body and for the environment.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, there's just so many aspects to this that sort of blow my mind, but should be obvious to people. And that's the scary part for me. Yeah. So then, have you managed to sort of reach out into other countries apart from the UAE?
So we're the distributor for WaterLogic in the UAE. WaterLogic have a presence in over 50 countries. So they're the biggest point of use water dispensers across the world. So yeah, it's the UAE, the Middle East is catching up. In the UK, it's so common for you to have a filtered dispenser.
Right.
But it's changing. It's changing. The Dubai Can has been a fantastic initiative. People are now, they respect the leaders out here, seeing it coming from that level has really, people now, oh, well, if it's safe enough for Faza to drink it, then it's good enough for me.
Yes, yeah.
It's been complete education. When you're a youngster and you're given a plastic bottle, for someone off the street to tell you, drink something different, it's a big change. It's process, it's a management change. And I completely understand it. I've been in meetings before, people telling me that the quality of the water out of the dispenser wasn't good enough. And he was trying to make a real stance and he was drinking out of a plastic bottle. And as I started telling him about the dangers around infertility, infertility, hormone imbalance, the risk of cancer, etc. The guy had water dripping down my face, my glasses, because the guy spat out his water as he was drinking it.
No way.
Yeah, it was a real sort of hallelujah moment. He spat out the water that he'd just drunk from his plastic bottle.
Thanks a lot,
dripping.
mate.
Yeah, I think I got my point across, but yeah, I'm lucky I had my glasses on.
You know, what's really interesting is that there was a really famous singer in the 90s called Sheryl Crow.
Yeah.
Super famous back then, you know, and she ended up having some type of cancer. I can't remember what it was. And actually, it just so happened that she had enough funds, obviously because she was quite well known, that she wanted to do a deep dive into how this cancer was caused.
Yeah.
And it just so transpired that it was through having plastic bottles in her car when it was extremely hot. And then, you know, and it was almost like a big wake up in the US. Because, you know, she has a very serious, she's not just a gifted singer, but she has a platform to really discuss it. And then it just exploded about that. So it's such a huge topic here. And I just think, how can we then not just get it out to the hospitality industry overall, because we are a service provider, and of course we have to do that, but also to the schools, because that's really important, is that message. And I was going to ask you, like, how have you made a difference? You know.
Going back to that, we have saved millions upon tens of millions of bottles every year with our customers. We work across every industry. So we work with the schools, we work with KHDA, we work with the Ministry of Health and Prevention. Whoa. We supply Emirates headquarters, we do Etisalat, we do Barclays Bank, and we're big companies are trusting us because we've got the best product, it's the most certified, and we pride ourselves in the service. I don't want to put a water dispenser into your office and then it's people are looking at it, what's this there for? Where's my plastic bottles gone? I go in, we'll tell them about the benefits that the company's investing in you as a person. If you want to catch bacteria, or if kids at school, the best place to pick up a cold is from a traditional water dispenser. You take a drink of your bottle and then you put it on a traditional tap. I'm leaving my germs behind for the next guy to take. Our machines, you can't actually touch where the water is dispensed from, and it's got a silver antimicrobial bacteria protection called BioCoat. So the likes of your Dyson products have all got that finishing on it, and that disrupts the DNA of any bacteria. So you're not it's not leaving the bacteria behind for the next person or the next user. So I'm passionate about it, James, because I would never I would never put my kids or any of my friends' kids in danger. I've got the best product, and I've got something that can help change the way people drink and help protect the environment.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's absolutely phenomenal. And why are we not doing more?
Yeah,
and that's the real question for me is how can us as professionals, you're bringing such an incredible thing to the world.
Yeah.
How can we do more?
It's just awareness. It really is awareness. I get frustrated with schools who preach about sustainability in their curriculum, and then I walk in and they've got plastic bottles. It's such a simple, easy way to eradicate it. Practice what you preach. I love going and speaking to school children. They're the ones that really buy into it. I can talk to a 30 or 40-year-old, it's massively down their to-do list. Fast forward 30 years when our kids are going to the beach and half of there's waste upon waste on the beach line, on the coastline. That's our problem. It's on us to change that. We probably won't be around to see the benefits of it, but if we continue being ignorant and not changing, it's not just my kids, it's their kids.
Right.
And I don't want that. I want them to enjoy what we've enjoyed growing up. But if we don't and we continue to let plastic go into the oceans and interrupting the sea life, into sea creatures getting polluted, the average person, the studies have found that depending on your diet, if you eat quite a lot of fish, you can be consuming up to 5 grams of plastic a week.
No.
Yeah, that's a credit card effectively of plastic. That's if you're eating a lot of fish that have been polluted by plastic or they've ingested plastic. If you're having a lot of drinking from a lot of plastic bottles. A liter bottle of a plastic bottle, liters in size, has been found in the US that it's got 240,000 microplastic particles in it. Like, you consuming that in your body, you think of our grandparents, their diet was completely different. They were never exposed to that. How are we meant to digest that type of amount of plastic? Well, what's the damage that's going to do to you?
2 million %. And also, if you think about people who were not born per se, but over the past 80 years, how much our diets have changed. And as you said, plastic water bottles were not around. Everybody was using cups, glasses, metal to wood to drink from it, and now it's just plastic. I mean, it's really scary. 240,000 microplastics. I mean, that's not a joke. That's horrendous. It's very, very serious.
There's a way to look at it. It used to be reduce, reuse, recycle. For me, it's refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle. There's so many alternatives. It's not expensive. It's actually saving you money in the long run. Taking the home example, after 6-7 months, it's going to be saving you money. It's the cost of going to a brunch at a weekend.
True.
It's when you break it down, you split it across a few payments.
Yeah.
Why would you not do it?
That's really amazing facts. I mean, it's scary, but everybody has to know this.
Yeah.
And why would you want to consume a credit card a week? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so dangerous in the long term, what that can do for you. So
we're all getting a lot more. Everyone's much more aware of what they're putting into their body, the importance of exercise, the importance of hydration. You're effectively just drinking poison.
Yeah, That's the
would
scary
you do
part.
that if I put it down as simple as A and B? Drink poison or drink something that's healthy for you?
Yeah. No, exactly, yeah. Well, look, the other thing, Sandy, that you guys do, and we've got some beautiful bottles here in front of us.
Yeah.
First of all, so am I right in saying, of course, you have the branded No More bottles, but if I wanted to purchase or have my own brand, do you guys do that as well?
Oh yeah, we can co-brand. Yeah, so the cups or the bottles we can co-brand that. It's really popular as a gift, or when you start a new business, your HR team giving you a bottle with your name on it and the company logo.
So you've got the sort of Stanley Cup here, which is really
the type
cool.
of Stanley. Yeah.
And then this one is amazing because.
Oh yeah.
So how is this made? This is from.
This is stainless steel.
Stainless steel.
Stainless steel. So this is thermal, so it'll keep your water cold for up to 12 hours and hot for 6 hours.
Whoa.
Yeah. You leave that in your car and you'll still enjoy it when you come back.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And then also here we have these beautiful. How do you say this? Purezza?
Purezza, yeah. Purezza, yeah.
Okay, so and because the other one is, I mean, the other thing I wanted to discuss also when it comes to water systems and water generally within hospitality. When I used to work at Claridge's, there was, and you're talking 2007.
Yeah.
Back then, through the restaurant we had, believe it or not, a water sommelier.
Yes, there's one in the UAE now. There's a lady over here that's
and they would have, I think, something roughly along the lines of 120 water bottles, and it was quite a big deal back then. But actually, more and more, you could say low end to high end fine dining restaurants are having different types of water, filtered water, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So. Tell me more about this bottle, because it's a very beautiful high-end design.
Yeah.
And why have you decided to sort of become the distributors for
Purezza? So you know hospitality game better than anyone. One of the first questions you'll be asked when you go into any restaurant, still or sparkling. Consciously, if I go into a restaurant and I see a plastic bottle on a table, my expectations are crushed.
Right.
I know that this is a place that's wanting convenience, cheap. They're not really fussed about your journey or your experience. You're met with still or sparkling Purezza bottle. You're in a high end somewhere that's sustainable, and they've thought about what they're offering their guests. So this is filtered, purified water, locally sourced, great quality, and its carbon footprint is zilch. You're not worried about getting it delivered from Italy. It's not coming through DXB, going through customs, going up and down Sheikh Zayed Road to find space in the back of a crowded, dusty canteen. This is on demand. You know that you've got 20 tables coming in. We're going to make 20 still and 20 sparkling.
So what is the system essentially then? So you have the beautiful design, and what's the type of machine that you would have for this bottle?
So Purezza is only for the HoReCa industry,
right?
So you won't be able to get this in any supermarket. This is specifically for, we're in worldwide. It's in over 150 Michelin stars.
Oh wow!
Restaurants.
Right.
So it is a high-end premium product. You will effectively, your staff will fill the water on the day. So we're not taking up storage. You're allowing your fridge to be filled with premium options, whether that's your beers, mocktails, cocktails, whatever it might be. But this is on demand. You're never going to wake up in the middle of the night in a hot flush because the guys have forgot to order a crate of sparkling water.
Right.
It's never going to run out. It's on tap. It's been filtered. It's been purified, and it's been bottled in your restaurant.
So I'm already sold on that. But if I'm an owner and we talk about the numbers, and accountancy, why would I buy this over something like a well-known brand, for example, Perrier or San Pellegrino or things like this?
Well, look, I'm not saying you don't offer that. Everyone likes variety, but if you're conscious about your carbon footprint, and this is profit in a bottle. You effectively you rent this machine from us, and you rent the bottles. Rough numbers here, James. As soon as you sell a bottle of your Purezza water for say 30 dirhams, rough numbers, every bottle after that is pure profit for you as a business.
Okay, hold on, Sandy. Let's track back on that, because I want to make sure that people understand this. So if the bottle costs you, or you sell, let's say at 30 dirhams a bottle.
Yep.
Every bottle or every sell after that is your profit.
Effectively, yeah.
Wow. Yep. And how much would then? How does it work from the machine's perspective? Let's say, so I'm a hotelier or F&B director. How much is the machine, or what's the rent for you?
The rent, but we've got different packages depending on the size of the restaurant, obviously.
Okay.
You're talking from just, say, round numbers here, 1,500 dirhams a month is the sort of entry level.
Right.
And that's including your machine. My guy's looking at us maintaining it, doing all the servicing and maintenance on it, and you'll get a whack of bottles as well.
And how many bottles would I get?
Again, that's variable.
It's up to us.
Yeah, you tell me that you want 50 sparkling and 200 still, no problem. And that's only from your sort of customer facing side. You've got 30, 40 employees in a restaurant. They're drinking water.
True.
You chefs have got a delicate taste. You're drinking a bottle of San Pellegrino, a bottle of sparkling water every day. That's the reality. So yeah, even just thinking of it from your staff having that water there, a great product for them to be hydrated with.
I think that's the other one, isn't it? Is that because I'm just trying to say, we always in the business, it's really important to look after the team.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
But how many restaurants have this plastic bottled water?
Yeah.
It's
battered and never been cleaned.
Yeah, and it's been sat in the van for hours on end, and everybody's drinking that. And actually, my message to everybody is always, you're nothing without your team. And your team should, if you look after them, they'll look after you, and they'll look after the business. And of course, you'd want them also from a health perspective to be looked after, because I'm a stickler. Like, I'm really tough on my boys and girls when it comes to the staff meal. Mm-hmm. Like, I grill them on it all the time, and I want pictures.
Yeah.
I don't care what menu it is. I want to see what pride they've taken in the staff meal, because if the staff meal is really, really good, right, the rest of the entire team, they all work together very well and they're really happy.
Yeah.
But I know when the food's been bad, everyone tells me, and everyone suffers.
Good reflection.
In the same vein, the water that they're drinking should be the same. Yeah. Actually, and even more so. Because you want to consciously be like, I'm doing the very best to look after my team on a long term. I don't want them having 240,000 microplastics in their system, right? So
even you think of the waste management at a restaurant after a busy day in a shift.
Yes,
the amount of plastic bottles that are being collected, and the cost of the waste management.
I mean, there's so much to think about, but it's really interesting to see this, because I and as you know, I used to work in many resorts, and for me, it's always the way forward. And I think it's always fantastic to see as a guest that they have their own water purification system or and that sort of thing. And for me, it's amazing, and I love that. And I think hotels and restaurants, especially more high-end restaurants, should go towards more of this, because yes, there is a cost involved, but there is pure profit to be made from it.
Of course, yeah.
And from a health perspective, it's also huge, because am I right in thinking that you're using the same type of technology?
Yes. Yep. Firewall technology, same level of filtration, 99.999% purified water. Fantastic. And think of that journey, the journey of it coming from Italy, sitting in a warehouse, sitting in transit, sitting in customs. How long's that bottle been sitting before it's even reached your glass?
Or where has it been?
Who's touched it? What animals have been out in the street playing with it?
Right.
And that's the reality. Yeah.
Yeah, and also a lot of people don't seem to understand that at the same time, within cardboard boxes, there is a huge amount of bacteria that people don't even think about it, and everybody just picks it up from the ground. So I can go on and on and on, but I won't.
Scary. It really is scary. Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's just incredible that there's so much to think about, and people should really I mean, it's
even for your coffee. You think of your coffee. 98% of your coffee is water.
Or tea. You're right.
Exactly.
Actually, yeah.
The difference, but when you have I notice it. I can tell straight away if I've not had a good water. My tea or my coffee is completely different in taste.
But that's, and the other thing is in this particular region, it didn't even dawn on me until we just discussed it now. Coffee is so big.
Oh, massive.
It's huge. And what does everybody go and do in the winter as well? They go to the desert, they have their campfires, they make the coffee.
Yep. Leave their plastic bottles behind for the camels to eat, and then
exactly.
they die.
There's so much.
Yeah. Water's everything. Like, it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what job you do. Within the first hour of you waking up, if you're fortunate, you will have drunk water.
Yeah.
That's one thing we've all got in common. We need water.
It's incredible. But, I think really that education piece is a must across schools, across hospitality. I mean everywhere.
Everyone. If I can inspire one person today, James, then I'm hopefully saving 1,600 bottles from that house. If they then tell their friend or their grandparents or their cousin, that's another 1,600 in the 1 year. It's a domino effect.
Right.
It's just making people aware of it. I don't want to push it on people. That's not my job, but I want you to just think about it.
Right.
Have a think.
That's it.
If you don't want to make that conscious decision, you've probably got bigger issues in your life.
It's on you. Fair enough, right?
But it's such an easy thing to do. It's not going to break the bank. It's going to save you money in the long run, and you're looking after. If you don't care about looking after yourself, look after your children. Set a good example for them.
Brilliant. I completely agree. So on that note, Sandy, we have now, I'm just thinking, all along the entire sort of time that you've been in business with No More Bottles, what would you say have been the sort of biggest challenges in that time?
Changing people's perception. Changing it's really getting to all the different demographics we deal with, and people not understanding. They think I'm trying to poison you.
Right.
You can't drink out of that. You can't drink tap water. You can't drink filtered water. It's going to damage us. It's not going to the last thing your employer wants is for you to be off sick. They're investing in a premium product to look after your wellness.
Yeah.
You're not a guinea pig here. These are people. This is across the world. The likes of Apple, Emirates, Talabat, all the big companies are doing it, and there's not been any issues. They're doing it for the benefit of their staff and for the local environment. ESG reporting is becoming more and more prominent. People are being taken to task. What is your carbon footprint? How can you reduce your carbon footprint? Very obvious, very quick to implement, very easy to measure. How many bottles did we previously go through? How many have we eradicated?
Fantastic. And then, because you've been here for quite some time and you understand the dining landscape and what's happening, what are your predictions when it comes to food and beverage, and what are the types of things that you'd like to see more of here?
Locally sourced. The UAE's making huge investments into having its own produce. Your vertical farming. The water is. I'm hopeful that within the next 5 years, it'd be very rare for a restaurant not to have filtered water.
That's a really good point, though.
Yeah.
Everybody should have it.
It should be a prerequisite. Yeah. And
it's not just restaurants; it should be homes.
Yeah. Hopefully, developers.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, a developer that's included within their spec. I love it when we go to Sustainable City and we install a water filter there, and you see all the van drivers coming in with plastic bottles into Sustainable City.
Well, do you know that's the other thing is that I think so. There's a really fantastic elevator pitch here because I know a lot of companies who real estate companies who say, "Oh, we'll give you a free coffee machine, or we'll give you a free this when you buy your first home." And I'm like, "No, we will include a free water filtration system." That because that it's like a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
It should be. That's what it should be.
Rather than give you a pizza in the day you move in, give me some water so I can
give me an amazing pizza, all that kind of stuff. But don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But that is you're investing in the people.
Yeah.
And it's not going to cost you a huge amount of money considering how much you're selling the house for, right?
No, yeah.
So
the brokers could afford to give you
exactly,
that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think there's so much to be done here.
Yeah.
But I think it's
we're scratching the surface just now. We're not. It's still wide open. There's so much we can do better. But it's been, honestly, the last 5 years, the transition and the amount of people that have joined the movement and have actually implemented it, and you see the tangible benefits. I love going to clients and seeing on one of our dispensers, we've got the bottle counter. One of the canteens and one of our clients in Abu Dhabi, over 250,000 bottles in less than a year.
Whoa.
And that's one, they've got 7 machines. That's just in their staff canteen.
So that's the other number, which I think was incredible when I was doing my research, is that in 2023, No More Bottles has saved almost, I think, 19 million plastic bottles.
Not a kick-off 20, yeah.
Yeah, right, yeah. Because, I mean, that is just a phenomenal, extraordinary number.
Yeah. I'm proud of it. Talking about my accountancy, I would never discuss what I was doing with my wife. How was work today? Fine. I go home and I love telling the kids about what I'm doing. I love telling Kirsty about what we're doing. We do the golf events at in Abu Dhabi and at the Jumeirah Golf Estates. We are saving tens and tens and tens of thousands of bottles there.
Really?
People will come. They've got hydration malls all across the place. We worked in Sale GP. All the big events as well, the carbon footprint they generally leave behind. I leave an event and say the Sunday afternoon of the golf, there's very little waste. You don't see the plastic bottles like you used to stacked up against the walls as people have strewn them away. It's changing. It's been great to be part of that journey, James. The government are really pushing it, the municipality, the Ministry of Health and Prevention, Dubai Can. This is they're really forward thinking. They're trying to improve. Recycling's improving, but as I said, refuse and then reduce.
Amazing. I love it, really. And congratulations on yourself and the entire company for putting forward such an incredible thing that everybody should be involved in.
Hopefully.
Everybody.
Yeah.
So now, Sandy, we've come to the quick fire questions of the show.
Yeah.
All right. So first things first, you're on a foodie podcast.
Yeah.
So are you sweet or salty?
Sweet.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Iron brew,
yes.
Or battered Mars bar?
Oh, iron brew every day. I actually had the pleasure of auditing bars. They were one of my clients back in my auditing days, and I loved it. At the end of the audit, they used to give us a slab of iron brew.
Oh, wow.
24 cans. Yeah,
finish them off in a second.
Huge fan of iron brew. Yeah.
So I don't know if you know Tom Allen.
Yeah.
He's a chef from Heston Blumenthal here at Dinner by Heston, and they have a very, very famous dish called the meat fruit, which is basically like the most smoothest chicken liver parfait imaginable, and it's wrapped around it looks like a tangerine.
Right. Okay.
It looks like a tangerine, but when you go through it, it's got this beautiful orange jelly and the parfait. And Tom said to me that you have either iron brew or the Fanta here if they ever run out of the colouring, because it's that orange.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So yeah. The other one for you, haggis or Arbroath Smokies?
Haggis. We had haggis at the wedding.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that was one of the starters.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, the most difficult question that I've put here for you specifically, Sandy, still or sparkling?
As I've got older, I like sparkling. Sparkling with a cappuccino in the side is that's my go-to in the morning.
Yeah, good. I'm with you there.
Yeah.
Right now, what would you say are your top 3 cuisines that you really love to eat?
Good question. Well, steaks are given.
Of course. We'll steak number 1 always.
No, I like my Asian fusion. I like your katas, places like that. I love going there.
Yeah.
Nobu's. And yeah, I do like Chinese food as well.
Oh,
yeah.
Done.
Big fan.
Now, who would you say, and I know you're not a chef, but you've been in hospitality for most of your life. Who would you say are your top 3 culinary heroes? And they don't necessarily need to be chefs.
I'll give my mum a shout out.
Yeah.
Got Gordon Ramsay with the Scottish connection.
Of course.
And I think what Jamie Oliver was trying to achieve with all the kitchens and stuff and within the schools.
Yes.
I've got a lot of respect for what he was trying to achieve as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, got Gordon Ramsay with the Scottish connection.
Yeah. He
like
played football in Scotland as well.
Yeah, he played for Rangers.
Rangers, yeah. So now, you also, throughout your time at university or in the US, you've been around maybe kitchens or restaurants.
Yeah.
Now, what would you say has been your funniest ever either restaurant or kitchen incident that you've seen or been involved in?
Good question. I used to work in like a Brewers Fair type pub back in East Kilbride, and we used to have a rare occasion. We had one guy coming in wanting a blue steak. Blue, yeah.
Right.
And you tried to explain that to the KPs in a restaurant that's doing 2 meals for £8, is who's this, like literally wanting to confront what you try to say. Do you not trust my cooking?
Right.
So very confrontational, and I think it was 3 or 4 times the guy sent it back.
Oh.
Yeah, he just wasn't. You don't go into that type of restaurant asking for that type of food. But yeah, you'd see a lot of young guys in their late teens, not always in the best fettle in the work. You used to see some sights in the morning in the kitchen.
I bet.
Yeah.
But also like a blue steak.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it doesn't even make any sense.
Your dog wouldn't eat it. Like,
yeah. You're better off doing a tartar, surely. Just asking for steak tartar. I mean, but yeah.
A double espresso with milk, please. It's the same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to a 16-year-old Sandy Muirhead?
Oh gosh, I've made a lot of mistakes, but I'm still here. Just do what you enjoy. You don't know how long you're going to be here for. I'm fortunate now. I've found a job that I've got a calling for. I don't wake up in the morning and think I'm going to work. And before I did, I really love what I'm doing. I love the ethos of the business, and I love the contribution. I'm proud of what we're trying to achieve, and I love dealing with people who want to implement these changes and do right. So yeah, I think just hopefully you can find a calling that you enjoy doing, because your productivity, your mindset, everything is massively different. You work, a lot of your hours in the day are spent working. Being able to do something you've got a smile on your face and you're happy doing, and it doesn't feel like work, makes a massive difference for me.
And the most important thing after our conversation, and our viewers and our listeners want to know, where can we find your products? Yeah. How can we get involved?
Nomorebbottles.ie. Find us on the website. All the links to our sales channels are there on Instagram, on LinkedIn. Reach out to me. I'm on various social medias. But yeah, stay hydrated, guys. We've got a solution for everything. Any taste, any quantities, there's something we can help you with.
So what I'll do, Sandy, is I'll put all of those details in the show notes so that everybody can get hold of you and of course, take action.
Yeah.
Now, I want to recap a little bit of our conversation because it's been quite extensive. Going from your childhood memories with your dad and the butcher, you know, and going around and doing those invoices, I think is quite cool. The types of food growing up with the square sausages and the black pudding and that sort of thing. Yeah. Then directly, going to that educational path, your time with KPMG, then moving over to the UAE, working within different finance realms, so on and so forth, to then finally, and almost by accident, finding No More Bottles, to then making that monumental difference that you are doing within the world. It's not just in Dubai or the UAE, it is the world. To also highlighting those challenges along the way and almost trying to not change people's minds, but as you said, making them to have a think, I think is really key. And of course, Purezza here, which is fantastic. The different things and the different items, I love them all, to be honest. But Sandy, really, on behalf of the Chef JKP podcast, thank you very much for taking the time to be here. It has been a huge educational journey, and I think, as you said, for people who are fortunate enough to drink water, what you're doing is absolutely, without shadow of a doubt, making an impact on people's everyday lives and health, which is something that not everybody can say that they're doing. So honestly, please do not stop what you're doing. And just a huge thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me. Hi, I'm Sandy Muirhead, a director at No More Bottles. If you like the podcast, make sure to follow, share and subscribe.